Okay, so this is the April 1st meeting of the planning board, and hopefully there'll be no practical jokes tonight. Like we had before we started the meeting. But in any case, it's the April 1st meeting of the planning board. It will be a hybrid meeting, so there will be live, but also people online. There are no items before us where there's any public comment, not only required, but even allowed at this point. But again, if you have any comments you'd wish to share, please email them to us. And again, we are allowed to do this hybrid via the laws of Massachusetts that govern our requirement, what we can do. Anyway, we'll just start there. The first thing on the agenda is the A&R plan. And what do we need to know about the A&R plan at 235 Central Avenue?
Well, this is,
We put it up on the screen.
this was an A&R plan that you had signed earlier, which basically provided for a lot line adjustment between lots 2A and lot 3B. And now they are revising how they're revising that lot line adjustment. So parcel A is shown on the plan, is now going to be conveyed to lot 2A. And parcel B is now going to be conveyed to lot 3B. And the lots have the required frontage on a public way. And the plan's been reviewed by engineering and planning staff. And we recommend that the board vote to endorse the plan approval not required.
And Lee, before we go for that, my apologies. My name's Artie Crocker. So I just didn't do the attendance. So when I call your name, just say if you're here, Paul Alpert.
Here.
Adam Block.
Present.
Justin McCullen.
Present.
And I know Natasha's not here yet, but she should be rolling in at some point soon. So thank you, Lisa. Let's just continue with this. So the changing the lot lines, switching them around, your staff has seen it. Building department,
Oh, engineering department.
engineering has seen it. I don't have any, I mean, we've seen it before, some minor changes. I don't have any comments myself. Anyone have any comments here?
No.
Paul?
No, nothing affected.
I looked at it before, I didn't.
Yeah. Adam?
I did, but I never answered.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we endorse the A&R plan as presented.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The next item on the agenda is the scenic roads agreement.
Yes, this was basically a follow-up from the planning board hearing we held on the town's proposal for scenic roads improvement. The only thing I think we were waiting on was the final, final caliber size trees from Ed. We didn't receive it. So I'm hoping you could just vote to accept the agreement in its current form and the ultimate recommendation from the tree warden on the caliber tree he would recommend for the 15 trees that are going to be planted.
Oh, is this regarding the last hearing?
This is the last hearing.
Yeah, so,
Basically you're approving the plan profile that you received. And with the condition that they represented that they were going to plant 15 new trees at locations to be identified by the tree board.
I thought we were talking about replacing 2 for 1.
they were replacing
My
2.
mistake?
They were talking about replacing 2 for 1, but not neccidentally all in that
But not at
location.
the same
Not
area.
necessarily in
They
that
were talking about
location.
maybe putting them in different.
Right.
You didn't say 32 trees. You didn't say 30 trees. Right?
He said,
No.
no, there was a 2 for 1, but it wasn't a 2 for 1
In the location.
in the location, it was throughout.
That's right. But they were going to,
In total.
That
they
was-
were going to have a total of 2 for 1, planting some of them elsewhere in town.
I think I did even said the calculation, I think
Yeah.
I even was like, does that mean it's gonna be
Yeah,
Well, then it should
27
be
or?
30 and not 15.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, so that's the wrong number.
Okay, well, I can change that.
okay,
I can change that.
that's fine.
Adjust the caliber.
So no one from the town was gonna be here related to this topic, correct?
No.
Okay,
But we can still vote basically based on the fact that we can still set in the change from the 2 for 1.
yeah, we can do that.
Yeah,
based on-
that's what was.
As long as the applicant is, which is the other, I guess is Public Works, is in agreement that they'll plant 30 trees.
Well, that's what
they
That's
represent.
what you say you heard. I
Yeah.
was looking at the documents and I thought the document said 15.
We'll have to change the signature sheet.
Okay,
Yeah, and it does say the locations coordinated with the Needham tree warden, so.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and we knew that we were talking about it as,
Yeah.
not necessarily on South.
Right.
It
Yeah.
would have been elsewhere,
exactly.
south, whatever.
They were gonna do as much as they could immediately in that location,
The
which
town-
made sense.
But we need
Yeah,
the
hold on a
absorption
second.
of carbon dioxide and
Now, the
getting
other-
out oxygen.
Adam, go ahead.
They can take action based on our vote. They don't need the people to take the vote. You sign it subsequently, right? Or you
No,
just-
they need for us to close this out, this agreement. We sign it, they sign it.
So they can't take action just on that vote.
Well, we have to modify what
Well,
we're voting on.
we're just gonna modify to change
Yeah.
15 to 30.
But we also don't know the calendar.
I thought we did know the caliber.
Yeah, and the
now.
caliper does show up on the signature page.
But it's not,
So,
Yeah, we had reached out to Ed to ask him the caliber he wanted, and he hasn't gotten back to us.
Signatures for the caliper part, I just took that out, but the 15 is still there, so we'll probably have to
well,
just bring it. I know, that's a.
We can bring it next
okay.
time.
And that's gonna be.
I have-
Hold on 1 second, too many people talking. 1 second. Lee,
Well, they didn't get back to us on the caliber, so,
Okay.
I mean,
So if they're not ready, they're not ready.
well, but we can vote it tonight and I can agree to sign it once that's filled in.
okay, why don't we do that? Why don't we vote it at the 30 trees?
At the
um,
30
cal-
trees with a
caliber,
caliper to be
To be
agreed to
determined.
with the tree warden.
And when we have that, the document will be signed by the board.
So moved.
okay.
Well, no,
Well,
I've got
we need that.
one
Good
possible
try, Adam.
change.
That
It's
was good. I
a,
like that one.
Okay,
I'm being a lawyer, it's a nit change.
Hmm.
In paragraph number 4, it says, any damage to other private property shall be restored. What? Shouldn't the word other be taken out? Because the trees aren't on private property, or, the property where the trees are coming out is public property. So shouldn't it say any damage to private property, not to other private property? This is on the second page.
yes, that's fine.
None of these trees were coming out of proper property, they were all in the public way?
Well, even if there's damage,
I
My
think there was
understanding, there
one.
was one that was.
Right.
Yeah,
listed
but
as
still,
one that was
but
on
still,
private property.
if in taking out that tree, they do damage to the property,
Right.
Yeah.
the applicant should,
Should
Fix it,
Should replace
yeah,
it.
remedy the damage, yeah.
Right, for remedy the damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the word other
the
doesn't
word
have,
other should.
doesn't have any meaning in this case.
And with that,
Okay,
I
so,
second the motion.
okay, so we have the word others coming out, that's a change, the 15's changing to 30. And we don't know the caliper yet, but that's, are we gonna change that to the caliper for agreement as designated by the tree warden, or we can just leave it as XX? What are
No,
we
we're
doing
gonna
there?
change it to what the tree warden has indicated is the caliber he wishes.
And is it 15 or should it just be, say, a 2-to-1?
To the-
Because based on the actual number that they end up coming, I forget what the actual applicant's number was. whether
It was
15 or
15.
17.
It was 15.
Okay.
So maybe just fit 30 from this.
Yeah, the agreement says that they're removing
Yeah,
15,
if that's 15, then that's fine.
but they will
30,
replace it with at
Sure.
least 15, so,
Okay.
Replace it with 30.
Okay, so I need them, so is any other comments about this right now?
I think Adam made a motion, I believe that.
Well, we need, the motion needs to be amended, is the other change in the agreement with the word other coming up. Adam, do you wanna make the motion?
So, I mean, it's so amended, or I'll withdraw the motion and now move that we agree to this agreement with the town with the additional changes as follows. Number one, in paragraph number 2, the number of trees to be installed will be replaced from 15 to 30. The caliper of the tree will be as agreed by the tree warden. And we'll remove the word other in, where is that?
Paragraph 4.
Paragraph.
And
we need to,
there are other locations where 15 is.
we
as
need
well.
to specify here, because the 15 appears twice in paragraph 2, and we're only replacing it in one place. So
Well-
at the beginning of paragraph 2, it says not more than 15 trees shall be removed.
Yes, they both,
So that should stay at 15.
yes, correct.
And then the second location,
Yes,
where
correct.
15 new trees
to be installed.
will replace, that's where we change it to 30.
That's correct.
Then, but some other the other paragraphs, is that just, it's other paragraphs, whereas that has a replanting of 15 trees.
Yeah, I got them.
So those are the locations.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're covered. So I had a motion. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Any discussion on that? And to note, Natasha's here now for the meeting.
You can.
Okay, no, that's cool. Right now, Natasha, did you hear enough of what
I
was going
did.
on with this?
I did.
Okay,
and,
so-
I
so-
don't have any questions.
Okay, so-
But it all sounded reasonable.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that covers that. And then we're on to minutes.
We didn't see, I didn't see any minutes.
Well, no, on to minutes that don't exist.
Signing,
Minutes that don't
No
exist.
minutes.
Yeah, and no correspondence. I didn't see any.
Okay,
No, I think the only thing left is basically the
My
lead.
cheat pick.
what was that, Lee?
It's
What's-
we have a request from the League of Women Voters to let them know what planning board members are gonna be assigned to what precincts at their warrant meetings.
Uh,
So we have, one for precincts A, B, C, one, planning board member for precincts D and E, one for F and G.
So I'll do.
Oh, we have to do.
Weird.
that.
Like, it should be like by voting site, isn't it?
I mean, I usually take I.
I usually, I mean, I planned to
D&E is
take
kind of
C
like
before and I
mine, but
wasn't
I guess
around,
it's
but
a-
I'll do C. What are they again? How
It's
does
A, B, and C is one, then D and E, then F and G, then H, I, and J.
Yeah, I'll do D and E because that's my precinct.
Yeah. use mine
So
as
I'll do
well.
ABC, because C's my.
And then there's a Zoom.
Yeah, and I'll do I.
Well, then they want somebody in conference room A.
Right,
For
So
the-
A, B, and C.
Well,
Do
Eric's gonna be
ABC.
a
I'm
Eric's
doing
gonna be there.
ABC
ABC's in one.
in one.
ABC is one, and I'll do D and E because that's, you
So
know,
I'll do F and G.
okay.
and Artie, what are you gonna do?
Precincts I and J, and if
Okay.
there's one
And then,
other one
The new person can do the
New
conference
person.
board
The new
meeting.
person.
there.
New person could do
He will
Zoom.
shall not be named yet.
Zoom and, or we'll have to probably, maybe we'll figure out
Oh, okay. So
Well, I mean,
whether I coach them, whatever, maybe, or somebody will have
Alex,
to
will
coach.
you be there or you?
Nope.
won't be?
I have
I'll be
design
there.
review board.
Because somebody,
Okay,
because Jean coached me when I came in
right,
for doing that, because it was the D and E in it.
right,
And
but it
obviously
seems like
she
we're
would probably-
missing one still. No, or are we?
No, this is what I have. A, B, C, Natasha, D, E, Justin, F, G, Adam, H, I, J, Artie, conference room, in person or by Zoom, Lee and whoever's
So
elected.
Adam and
Yeah, they have.
Justin need to sign these.
Okay, so that's good. So you're with the person that's elected.
Mhm.
Perfect.
And
So that
Justin,
worked
there are
out.
two more, there are two more to sign.
I was just saying that.
Does that sound good for everybody?
Yeah.
I captured what you said?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so is
I love
the,
how everyone signed with like,
is the only, so the only thing
Stolen
left is maybe some reports as far as anything's been going on?
I just, at the meeting, we had a working group meeting this morning, and one of the questions that came up was, we're looking at taking the large house stuff probably to a town meeting in May of 2026. So, the planning board would normally be on a schedule, probably to hold public hearings on it at the beginning of January 2026. So the question came up about how soon you're gonna need the final recommendation from the committee to feel comfortable moving forward with that kind of schedule. So if they get you, a report with recommendations by, let's say, mid-November, is that sufficient?
for springtime meeting,
Can you wait later? I just want to get a sense of,
probably appropriate. like,
I'll stay out of this and something will work.
Okay.
If it comes in mid-November,
Go ahead.
can
I-
we
From the large
digest,
house?
from large house, can we digest enough for springtime meetings? That's it.
I guess the question is, can you work backwards to say
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
this is
Right,
when
when
the
is the
warrant
warrant?
needs to go,
Right.
this is when, and how much time we have, because we're gonna have a public meeting, right?
So,
Yeah.
So we would
Exactly.
probably want to notice the meeting in January for late February, maybe as late as early March for your hearing. So by early January.
We need it before then. We, I'm sorry, yeah, Alex, we need a meeting before then.
Yeah, let's see.
So by early January, you want your final recommendation as it's going to be noticed. So really by early January, I mean, you might want to just tell yourselves this before the holidays. So, given that, it's sort of how much time do you want it in your lap to kind of play with the language? We do anticipate having public meetings. We do anticipate having, the large house committee, whoever is available, come to your meetings, actually, starting, I think, April 15th at your next meeting, because we realize there's not much on the agenda, just to kind of give you status updates, so it's not just reporting,
That would
it's
be
like
great.
real status updates. So hopefully by the time it's in your lap, it's not like, this is all new to us, we're just getting familiar with it. That's the goal. But all that said, it is
Yeah.
in their, bucket now, and then so,
It's gonna land up in your
and then
bucket.
when,
At the
I
end of
guess, do you
summer.
want it in your bucket officially to start?
I'd like to have it in our
Like
bucket by the latest October.
I would say
Yeah.
October. I would like the possibility of the planning board to have 2 meetings if needed related to this. This is a pretty big thing.
I guess the question is, are you having public meetings?
We are going to, the first thing we're gonna have is let's call it a public meeting, but it's a public, give us some feedback of what you've been seeing, what you'd like. We're not gonna have this big presentation of what our ideas are, because we don't wanna say what we wanna do until we hear from them. Then we'll come back with
So
a.
you have a listening meeting.
Yeah, we'll have a listening meeting, we can answer some questions.
And then
for
you
listening
come
meeting.
back.
Then we'll come back, then at that point, the earliest we can come back is September, is summertime by
Yeah,
then.
I think they were thinking about having a meeting probably after town meeting in May or early
Early
June.
June,
A
yeah.
Kind of
listening meeting.
report on
Listening
what the
meeting, yes.
committee has done so far. And that if there's information that we'd like some feedback on. One is how do we want to define FAR? I mean, Wellesley defines it as a volume metric, which is basically gathering all the volume, basically above ground, that's one
Right.
strategy. And then there's ideas about how to effectively regulate the use. You can do it by putting a fixed cap, or you can use an approach similar to what Wellesley does, which is a fixed cap with an escape valve through a review for larger houses. So to kind of present where the committee is currently, lay out these options about how FAR is defined and what process might look like, and how people feel about that, and then what are the issues that they're experiencing in their neighborhoods that they want to see addressed. So that would be the meeting, I think, probably in May and early June.
For us or for the public?
No,
For the
for the-
large house study committee,
Yeah.
through a public engagement process.
So how many public engagement meetings will you have?
3
And the first one is,
would be probably May, early June.
that's the main, and that's the listening.
That's a listening, and then there would be one, then the committee would take that information, work over the summer to look at.
It would be ideal to have that listening meeting in the latest mid-May. And have another one where there's actual more public engagement by this committee in June before break.
Yeah, but what would that meeting look like? What would you do at that meeting?
Well, he's the chair of the group.
Well,
Well, I think the idea was to gather this community engagement meeting, to get feedback on,
To work on the
to
summer.
work on the strategies that we would look at, to be able to come up with the definition of floor area ratio that we want to proceed with, then to kind of look at,
And the
Um,
impact.
May I just point out
and do
that
something in September.
Hold on
after
one
the whole
second.
summer
the
to
first
work on it.
Monday in May, the first Monday in May is kind of late. The first Monday which is the first session of town meeting, is May 5th. So if we go 4 nights for town meeting, and I use the term "we" loosely because I may not be reelected. But if town meeting goes 4 nights, then the 4th session would be May 14th.
yeah, we're not
So
gonna.
you
we're
don't
not gonna
wanna,
have a
you don't,
meeting.
you don't
We're not
wanna
gonna
have
it
your
that way.
meeting until,
Wait, when is town, can you remind me, when is town meeting? Like,
the
what's
first
date?
Monday in May is always the first town meeting, so that's May 5th.
We could do, it doesn't have to be on a Monday or Tuesday night. It could be.
No.
No, I'm just talking about the
Correct.
fact that you wanna have it after town meeting is
I
done.
don't, I don't. I
Well-
don't, I mean, I think we should have the.
It's not your meeting, it's a large house meeting, a large house committee meeting.
I get that. Ultimately, it looks on us, not just that committee. So I think on that basis, we should have our act together. There's no reason why we can't. And that committee then does its listening tour or listening meeting, in early May. And depending on what they hear and how they present to the planning board. Maybe there should hopefully be a second meeting before the summer, and that would be the opportunity to kind of crystallize the final plan.
Well, there's not.
We're not gonna crystallize anything over the summer. No, that's not possible. That's not possible.
There's no time to do the work because they're listening.
Yeah.
They can't produce in 2 weeks.
That's not possible.
Why
If
can't you
it's-
do the
if it's-
listening
If it's
meeting?
May sixth, they can't have another meeting on June twelfth, that's 6 weeks.
We can't, it doesn't seem practical to have a meeting right in the middle of town meeting.
It's your committee.
No, I understand. No, I get, I can appreciate, no, I appreciate that we want to have as many as we can, as possible. So that's important. We want to get as much information as possible as we're formulating what we think we'd like to do. Then we come back and we're gonna have another meeting, and we want people to make sure they feel as though they can have input for any modifications to the plan. So I can appreciate to get as much information as possible before we get too far along. I just don't think I mean, we can have another one in June. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, but I think.
But a lot of people are
what is the
but a lot of
purpose
people are
what
just
is the
gone.
pur- What is the
A lot of
purpose
people
of
are
the
gone.
meeting? And I think the purpose of the second meeting was to kind of, based upon what we heard at the first meeting, was to come up with some proposals. Of, basically take the information we have and now come up with a proposal, a definition, and a look at what the FAR would
So you
be
need
if a
time.
fixed FAR is assigned across the conforming and non-conforming lots. What FAR would look like if it's assigned across a system similar to Wellesley's, and present those as options in September and get feedback.
But is 6 to 8 weeks not an appropriate time for that? I mean, given this has been going on for a little bit so far.
So-
I'm just,
So I have
Because
an idea.
This takes a lot, because this
I
has to
understand
be.
the fiscal impact analysis hasn't probably happened yet.
Well, it
Yeah.
has to
Oh,
be
yeah.
modeled. We
Yeah.
are hiring, basically, we're gonna have this, the idea was to have the meeting in May. And then to we have a fixed FAR, we've got 2 different strategies of approaches on defining FAR. To basically do some modeling of existing houses and fiddle with them through 3D models to come up with what is the appropriate geometric volume for the house.
So
And that's work is gonna happen over the summer, and then those results would be presented in this fall, early
So
fall.
Lee, for the April 15th, can you put together a calendar working backwards from town meeting to make sure that to understand what the deliverables are and what the meetings are? The public meetings. So
Yes,
then we,
that's
then
what
we look
we-
at it holistically, because we're gonna start throwing stuff
Right.
at you, but I think if you
Sure.
have it as a calendar, then we can digest it and we can say, look, I don't think that's enough time. I think because we need to do public.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be contentious. I mean, people are gonna be
Yeah, we want
upset.
2 meetings. It's important for us
When
to
you
have
say
2 meetings.
meetings, do you mean for your hearing, or do you mean?
Public hearing.
Hearings, public
So,
hearings.
Okay,
There's the
Okay.
public meetings with the group, there's 3 of them, and then
Right.
there's the public hearings, and we need time for that, and that's what I think Adam is
That would happen.
concerned.
I mean,
In
I think we have to
January,
be prepared. I mean, the fact that we had 3 public hearings for tennis courts.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Just for some
large,
tennis
large,
courts.
large house,
yeah.
there are gonna be a lot of people who are gonna opine, and it's true, like, but it's. But, and we went through 3 public hearings to talk about dimensional.
Well, we had, what about the trees on South
Well,
Street?
they weren't just meetings, we weren't public hearings, but we actually had 3 public
We had,
hearings.
but we
No,
even had public input.
We,
I
no,
know.
believe me, the trees, we talked about trees.
Well, that's why maybe it has to be, that's why I think it's important to get the thing done in January and advertise for hearing in early February, so you've got space to continue the hearing.
I think that sounds great if
That's-
you could put that calendar
So
together.
here's the thing,
Yeah.
the earliest possible, I know we said, maybe by November, like the earliest possible for whatever product that I'll put it on this
Right.
committee. Because I believe that once it gets pushed back to the planning board for actual review and hearing and
We're gonna have
that's
that.
going to be more than like 3 hearings. I
Yeah.
think we're gonna be dealing with this.
You mean 3 openly public
Like
hearings?
actual public,
presentation-
we had 3 public
presentations?
hearings for the high school.
No, I mean
tennis courts.
presentations.
Yeah.
No, just actual public
Oh,
hearings,
just hearings here in the room and
Listen,
just,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
from,
Oh, that's easy.
Well, we can set it up
We
so that
can do
there's
that, yeah.
space for whatever date we say to have at least 2 additional hearings 2 weeks apart.
But you need to put that calendar together.
Yeah, which I think we should speak.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we need, okay, I think we need to bring it to the planning board by October.
Right, but for right now, why don't we do
That's
this? Why don't we just see the calendar at the
Yeah.
next meeting? And then
Okay.
that way we'll
Yeah.
work backwards and then your group can agree and we can agree.
Adam,
Yeah, I just make a
Yeah.
suggestion.
Hold on one second, hold
Hold
on.
on, Adam's
Oh,
been raising his hand for like
Let
5
Adam go.
minutes.
Oh, okay.
Go.
I'm
Oh.
sorry, man.
I didn't know which one is now chairing. I don't know.
We're like.
Hold on.
No, I'm gonna move over here. No.
So, thank you.
I was hiding, I was like this, so Paul
We're
could see.
we're all trying to get to the same place, I get that. It'll be helpful to have that stuff to work through the schedule. We can talk about it again in the next meeting.
Sure.
But I do think that getting the fiscal modeling set up pronto is critical.
well, we can arrange to have it, we're doing the RFP right now, for the consultant for the 3D modeling. And the fiscal impact is gonna be based upon what the model is that's decided. So that's not gonna happen probably till the summer.
So,
So sequentially, it's the 3D modeling and then the fiscal impact.
okay, let me hear you and start over if I can.
Sure.
I understand that the program has to get laid out, and that's, ultimately what the model will reflect. I get that. But it would be better if that company would be engaged soon, like starting their work in May, ideally to be able to kind of chat through and present for 10 minutes on what their algorithm, what the influencing factors are for their algorithm. They can build that algorithm because it's just going to be an equation of A plus B plus C, something like that. And I think that the community needs to understand what column A, B, C, and D are, and what the weight of each of those columns should be. Because that's the crux of what this whole thing is doing. And I think that should really be the focus of the ultimate debate. And the sooner that thing is set up, the sooner we'll understand how those, like we talked about with the housing plan working group, the different levers to pull. So it doesn't have to be that complicated. It's really actually very simple. And I think that the bulk of that could be prepped, at least the underlying concept of it could be prepped and presented by, at that large house, public engagement meeting. And listening, and it's essential for that listening needed. And if it means that clearly we can't do now a meeting in May and June, do the meeting in the 3rd or 4th week of May and have the company that's engaged be able to speak for 10 minutes on what the variables are and what the community decisions are in the weight of each of those variables. That's the whole crux of it.
I don't know if that's possible.
So, and that may, but here, and to just reiterate, I think, because this whole entire issue of why we're still allowing these houses to, it is about the fiscal impact analysis. That is the most important thing more than anything, more than FAR, how it compares to Wellesley or Ashland or whatever it may be. It doesn't really matter about how we're trying to figure out this. It is the fiscal impact analysis for why this town has not had the appetite to do things earlier, because you know what, it is the most important investment that somebody has in their life. And we are now going to constrict and change that. And that is fine if we do, but that impact needs to be actual, like looked at and presented and have the community to be able to say, yes, okay, fine. I may not be able to sell my house for $200,000 more than I would have before this bylaw went into effect, or 300. That's the crux of this issue. It is not the biggest how, or yes, the trees and the stormwater, that's part of it. But the biggest part is, to me, and I think the biggest part is the community, is the right, the privacy rights of the individual on their property and what their value is going to be able to do to sell it. And that is what we need to analyze. And then, once we do that, then we can do these levers and do all these things of FAR and all, but the fiscal impact, and I've been saying this at every meeting when I've been like, hey, what is the update on fiscal impact analysis? That, to me, is the most important thing that this committee needs to actually figure out. And that's, because that is what we need to talk to the community about, and that's where we need to actually have the listening. It's not about how big a house is and how it looks. That's all aesthetics.
And that's what the finance committee is gonna wanna focus on.
And FinCom is, yes, exactly, because they're going to opine based on this, and that they could torpedo it by saying, well, no,
Well, they could, okay, so they could. I certainly agree that the people selling the house, I mean, they have, their individual rights, what's gonna happen with that. I mean, they've had, we've had some pretty good expansion of what's going on with the values over a long period of time now, because we haven't done anything.
Right.
But the changes that,
just slowing now.
but the changes that we're doing also have an impact on
The people that are
the
buying.
people around them, everyone around, the whole
Sure.
community, as far as, maybe they want some change also, because it affects them.
Sure.
And it potentially affects their value and how they perceive their value and quality of life
That's the
in that
fiscal impact
neighborhood.
analysis.
And well, but it's not, but it is, but no, I understand, but it sounds like that, it isn't just the fiscal analysis of those properties being sold.
And remember when this went out, I said the fiscal impact analysis to the
Yeah.
town,
Yeah.
to the buyer, and to the seller.
Into the-
All
Well,
three of them need to be taken a look at,
Well,
because you're right,
and
there are three
and
values.
it's the neighborhood, it's a neighborhood as well, it's a neighborhood.
And the town, because
a
the
neighbor.
The
town.
town, but
And Bill Paulson is involved in this.
Yeah.
and he's basically a
Yeah,
realtor,
we're
and he's-
looking, yeah,
he's-
we're
he
looking
is
at
funding
values
some
now,
of that
we're
fiscal
looking at
community
different
plus
values
the
now.
fiscal impact
So-
gap.
so
So,
that,
but-
to me, the fiscal is actually one of the most paramount, important factors of this
'Cause that's
entire
what people are gonna
process.
push
Is
back.
more financial than it is, I would even argue, stormwater. I mean, or I would say it is financial, and it's not just to the seller, and you're right, it's not just the seller, and that's what I was, and I'm sorry that you took that based on my comment, but it's the entire chain. So it is to the buy, sell, to the town, the taxes,
The neighbor,
everything.
and the
the
neighbors,
neighborhood.
The neighborhood
the
isn't
neighbors.
financial, so I'm saying the town financially.
Yeah, but the
No,
neighborhood
no.
gets impacted by whatever.
Sure,
they
sure,
do.
sure, and that's fine, but that is the most important factor.
Yeah.
To me, and I think to a lot of people, and that's where we need to get to the public.
Well, that's an important number, a number to know, a metric to know. And it is an important factor. How much it weighs in the important factor, maybe it weighs here and some other ones way over, here, but there's gonna be a number of other ones that are gonna be having weight to them as well.
Right,
That one may have the most weight.
Sure, we haven't done anything yet.
Any individual, correct, any individual one, because we're still going. We're doing this, we're being
the
methodical,
committee-
we're being methodical as we're doing this.
Sure.
Because we don't wanna rush it, we don't wanna come to town meeting with failure. We wanna come to town meeting with something that we're comfortable with, we believe will pass, and we believe is fair.
Have we thought about what we're going to town meeting in May?
Oh, we're just gonna have a basic report of what we were
So
doing.
so have we thought about the report?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
committee's gonna
yeah,
actually,
okay,
the committee
Yeah,
actually
that's
is
pretty
preparing
straightforward.
something, and they're gonna be on
Perfect.
the agenda in
Yeah,
April.
that's pretty straightforward.
but if the committee could assess when, the cost impact, just because it sounds like a lot of people are concerned about that, if you can give an
It's
update on that.
extremely important. Yes, thank you.
That, right, that would be great. And Paul, you had something.
No, I'm
Ariana,
just-
took over from you.
I'm just looking at the calendar to make a suggestion for when you have this first
Yeah,
meeting. So as I said, if you have we always have at least 3 town meeting sessions. We always schedule the special town meeting for the second Monday.
Right,
So that's the 12th. If we go 4 nights, it's the 12th and the 14th. People who are focusing in on town meeting, whether they're town meeting members or the community at large who attend or watch town meeting, you don't want to have a third major meeting the same week as 2 town meeting sessions. People are going to be exhausted. Town meeting always goes until at least 11 o'clock at night. So that
Did you
brings
say
us
Town
to,
mee's the 5th, I mean, sorry.
yeah, the 5th
First
and the
two-
7th,
First 2 weeks of May.
the
Right, right.
5th, the 7th, the 12th, the 14th.
And what number
Then
are
we
we on
have-
the, what number are we on the docket again? Lee?
you're on the annual town meeting, I think it's 18 and 19, and then you're on the special with the floodplain.
So the special is going to be on Monday night.
And the
The second
so
Monday
the
night.
special's on Monday night, which will be on the 12th, and your article 18 and 19 on the annual, so I'm not sure.
Day 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Probably the 5th,
Is that before or after the regular budget? I think it's after, which
after
means,
the
After,
budget.
yeah, so it's good. It's probably going to be the 12th.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Wait.
So,
is that
but my
gonna be
point
the
is-
what? What's gonna be the 12th?
Day two.
Well,
7.
day 2 or day 3 is when they're gonna get to the zoning.
No, I think it's
amendments.
7.
You think it'll be day 2?
It'll be day two.
Yeah. So my point is, you don't want to schedule it for the week of the 5th or the week of the 12th. And if you go to the 26th, the 26th is Memorial Day.
All right, so we're
So then
thinking
your
the week
question is, do you
before
want to have it before or after Memorial Day? So I'm thinking you may want to schedule this meeting and report to town meeting, this is on Wednesday, the 21st or Thursday, the 22nd. So it's before Memorial Day, before people are making their plans to be away for Memorial Day in a few days thereafter. And, I mean, if you want, you might want to consider doing it after Memorial Day, but I wouldn't do it the day after.
No, you're right. No, you're completely right.
When is the RFP, will that be published or released?
Well, we need to put together a scope of work. I'm working with Oscar now on the scope of work for the 3D model.
What about the fiscal impact?
I haven't worked on that one yet.
Oh,
I
thought
was,
that's what we were talking about before.
no, I'm doing, we're putting together the,
I would suggest that getting the fiscal impact analysis signed up is more critical, because the modeling is important, but it's gonna take a little longer. So I think that, if you can get the RFP out by the end of next week, then we've got 1, 2.
you just help me out, because I'm having a hard time. So if you don't know what you're going to propose, what is it that you're modeling?
We can, the model is gonna be an algorithm, it's gonna be a formula.
Right, but what are you gonna apply it to?
I think the committee ought
I'm just trying to understand, what are you gonna apply it to if you don't know what your proposal is?
if the committee doesn't know by the end of April what its variables are.
No, they're
then-
not gonna know what they are.
They're not gonna know
propose.
until we already
I'm not saying an absolute value at all. I'm just talking about what,
The different parameters that affect value.
I'm just
That's
talking
what I'm
about,
talking
I'm talking about what the variables are. FAR is a variable, lot size is a variable. And whatever the other.
or whatever.
Height, man,
Height is
Height.
a variable, and whatever the other variables you guys are looking at. Lay that out and say that this is how, because with FAR, you can only look at it between here and here. Height, you can only look at it from here and here. And lot ratio, lot coverage is only between here and here. The rest is just fine tuning. Fine tuning will happen as a function of policy work. But if the committee doesn't know what its variables are already, then
The committee doesn't know ultimately, the committee's gonna decide on a lot coverage, it's gonna decide on an FAR. And it's gonna be able to then generate a square footage that could be built on a lot.
Based
That's-
but that consultant, if that consultant can lay out to the community in the 3rd week of the date that Paul is suggesting to the community and have a sense of where the range is. And
the committee hasn't landed to know what the lot coverage is gonna be, or what
I'm
the
not-
FAR.
Okay, hold on for a second. Adam, hold on for a second. Okay, so just to make sure you know how we've been doing this. Okay, we're looking at non-conforming lots. And I know you realize you know some of this already. We're looking at non-conforming lots and we're picking as many samples as we possibly can that are fair and reasonable. Then we're studying those, we're visiting those, and then we're coming back and talking about those. We're having 1 meeting a month. Now we're doing conforming lots. Again, we're doing the same thing, looking at as many as we reasonably can, and
what are you looking at?
we're looking at what's the height, what's the square footage, what's the lot coverage,
The
and then
parameters that you're talking about.
then visuals, what they are
There
looking
you go.
at. Hold on, then visuals, what they are looking at, because when all is said and done, it's gonna be a combination of, I'll know it when I see it, and what's the fiscal impact type of thing. I mean, eventually, that's what it's gonna be. I mean, we're gonna look at something and say, does it fit, does it not fit? What changes would I like to see, and how is that gonna, and what is it, how's that much gonna actually shrink the house?
Mhm.
And that, is it gonna have a fiscal impact? What fiscal impact will it have? I mean,
So you
that's-
already.
To the owner, to the buyer
Yeah.
and then to the neighborhood and then to
neighborhood.
the town. for
Yeah.
tax revenue.
Yes, exactly. So we're just about finished with the conforming lots. We had a meeting yesterday where we brought the chair of the Wellesley Street, chair of the Wellesley Planning Board came over, and it was a great meeting. He was sharing how Wellesley does everything. Some of that could apply to Needham, some of that's gonna be very difficult to apply to Needham. And, but again, the problem, the flow of how they do it could apply, but, the amount of staff we need to take care, then come to the ramifications and large house review study, some of those may not work.
So it's not apples and
Adam, one
apples.
idea
It's not
might
apples
be
and
that
apples.
we're gonna be doing the modeling, we're gonna be looking at different FARs, it's shrinking the house, maybe the fiscal piece gets linked to those different models that are being developed to understand fiscal impacts of those different models as they're being developed, so they're kind of like doing, just trying to think through.
Parallel.
They're kind of maybe being done in parallel.
Notionally, not notionally, of course, one is affected by the other. I get that. You don't need to know the empirical value yet. That might come about as a result of policy over the course of months. You just need to know the variables that they're already looking at. And let me ask you a question, all right? I'm gonna put you on the spot, forgive me, okay?
No, it's fine.
Right now, let's say you've got a house that's 6,000 square feet,
Mhm.
however you define it, 6,000
Yeah,
square feet.
yeah.
In your wildest imagination, do you think that the committee would look to require that when the zoning is passed, the biggest house could be 3,000 square feet?
Oh, no, I can't even imagine.
Exactly.
I can't remotely
Thank you.
imagine that.
So
No.
that's my point.
No,
So you're in a zone.
Within a range.
Right.
Yeah.
You're in a range, you already know you're in a range now. He just said it's gonna be less than a 50.
Well, that's me, my personal opinion. And I have a
understand,
feeling.
but of course,
Yes,
Artie.
yeah.
And then you know you're gonna have a range for each of the variables.
Mhm.
I could come up with that econometric formula. I'm a realtor too. I have all the same data and look at all the same market intelligence that Bill has. It's not that difficult. And it should not take 6 weeks.
Well, it
So-
takes a while to tweak it, so I understand what you're
Of
saying.
course, of
So what you're
course.
saying is, we wanna know the criteria by which you're gonna be creating a fiscal impact.
And
And-
to talk about the range of impact between each one.
And to give a big picture, let's say, of what the impact would be. But you're not gonna get really any information until it's actually figured out, like any
But you-
date, but you can
Well-
do a range, is
You can
what you're saying.
extrapolate.
It's a
And-
listening.
I think it is fair to have an understanding of what percentage change fiscally, what change does height have? Change from 35 to 32, does that have any really, if some specialist expert says, does it really have any impact? They'll say, they'll say, no, it won't. Okay, we'll know that. Then they'll say, okay, if we're reducing the increasing the setbacks, reducing the FAR, roughly what type of financial impact does it have going from here to here to here to here? Type of-
Right,
So-
frankly,
Give us an idea, give us an
Going
idea.
35 to
Let me-
32
Yeah.
in a certain area might
Okay.
prohibit,
I-
based on metrics,
Mhm.
that you would have to be
Okay.
able to
Let-
have a room or
Yeah.
like, and that, these
I'm-
variables that are going to affect
I'm
price.
trying to figure out what all of you are arguing about, because it sounds to me like we're going around in circles.
We are,
Okay.
we are.
Okay, so there's gonna be a fiscal impact analysis. Who is doing that? Is that somebody that we haven't chosen yet? Somebody that we're,
Correct.
That's
that we're
correct.
going to have to go out to have an RFP?
Right, we're gonna have an.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is Adam is suggesting, I think I agree with Adam, that we want to get that RFP out so that we hire somebody who's going to do the fiscal analysis so that they can get started doing their modeling for how they're going to do the fiscal analysis once they have the information
they can
that the
plug it in.
housing committee puts together for them, so that when the housing committee says, okay, here's what we're talking about in terms of FAR lot size,
Whatever it matters.
they hit the
Plug
ground,
it in.
they're able to hit the ground running.
Okay.
That's-
So Adam's point is, let's get the RFP out.
Yeah.
Right, and
Okay,
let's
well,
get,
that's
let's
step
get the
number one.
RFP for the architect or for whoever's gonna be
Second.
modeling it.
I will say though, we did have a meeting with Wellesley, just on Monday night, and I was really surprised. I was actually surprised by what we heard from the chairman of the Wellesley Planning Board about their system. Because they are, and the fact that it's had it had a lot of support in Wellesley. And it effectively says that you can build, on a 10,000 square foot lot, because they've now calculated in the area of the garage. It's 3,100 square feet. Not
I
even-
thought it was
I
30.
think it started out at 3,600 square
Yeah,
feet.
36.
So as of right, you can build a house of 3,100 square feet
That's it.
in Wellesley. That's it.
But-
And
Garage or not?
that includes the garage. When they originally did it, it was 3,600. And they, a number of years after they had experience, they decided they wanted to go to a measurement for FAR that was totally volume. They basically totally looked at volume above ground. So basically it counts this first floor, the second floor, the half story, the garage, and the percentage of basement that's 25% above grade. And then they say under that, in the 10,000 square foot zone, it's 3,100 square feet. And if you don't live by those rules, then you can go through this process
Large house
to
review.
get something larger. And it looks like only 20% of the houses that are going through the Wellesley system are going above those limits. I was really kind of surprised
That there weren't more.
that there weren't more, and that most of the builders and developers are making the choice to actually live within that framework. And, you know,
Or
different-
come to me,
or-
where there's no
and
actual.
the values in Wellesley, I know where are
Yeah.
falling to the ground.
Right.
And I was just really kind of surprised to hear
So-
that their system had created that
A two-
outcome.
So they've created a two-tier system. So I'm curious, what percentage of new building permits for new construction homes are within the by right condition?
That's what she said.
That's what she said, 80-20.
Yeah,
That's just it, yeah.
20% are special
And
permit.
what percentage of the residential area is the 10,000 square foot lot?
I don't remember, I don't.
But it's in the.
Was that around,
Presentation.
was that around
You should
40,
listen to his
43%?
presentation. Yeah, because there's.
I can send you guys the link.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's like-
yeah, we have the slides.
It was very, at least for me, it was very, I mean, I knew about the
It was very-
Wellesley
it
system.
was
but
very
I-
You know what the acquisition of the dirt value is for a lot in, did he say? Or she
I would
said?
imagine it's higher than here.
Right, $1 million here, so it might be closer to 1.3.
I don't know, I would imagine it's higher.
Maybe it's a question to ask.
So one thing the Wellesley chair
But it's
said,
really very interesting.
yeah, so one thing the Wellesley chair said was that when someone comes go through the large house review process, one of the things that they do is they look at the neighborhood around it. What has
And look at the
happened?
context.
Yeah, context. What has happened with the buildings around it already? And how does it fit in with that? Well, if the houses around that are bigger than 3,600 square feet, they will certainly take that in mind, and maybe they're 5,000 square, feet, whatever they are, they will take that in mind. They will take the size in mind, they will take the setback from the street in mind.
It's arbitrary.
No,
No, it's not
very
arbitrary at
specific.
all. No, it's not arbitrary at all.
They're taking into account,
The context.
The context.
So if you have a lot of
Yeah.
little ranch
Yeah.
houses and you have this 10,000
It's
square
out of
foot
place.
home,
Yeah.
they feel like it's out of context.
yeah,
And
That's
what he said was that actually builds a lot of value as far as being able to have that type of neighborhood, a neighborhood where it isn't oversized private houses. It's basically saying that there's a value in what was built with that, with their process. That has built value over time, is they've taken those controls and they've made sure that they're careful with what they're doing, made sure when the builders do something, if they're going through that process, they're looking at lighting, they're looking at landscape, looking at what were the builders doing and what are they
So the
leaving,
site plan
what are they,
review.
what are they leaving behind? The
Right.
builders. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah, so listen to the video. I was surprised by what I heard, actually.
Yeah.
I look forward to.
Okay, do we have anything else there?
Make a
No,
motion to adjourn if we don't have anything else.
motion to adjourn
Well,
where?
we want to say thank you to
Thank you.
Paul.
Thank you,
Well,
Paul.
no, first, yes.
Oh, for most,
If we want to do an actual, well, is there any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Then obviously a motion to acknowledge.
Motion to
Motion to
acknowledge. I don't know if I'll
Motion to
second that one.
acknowledge Paul's
Third it.
10-year contribution and volunteer.
More, 15, right?
15 or 10?
No, 10.
10,
10,
yeah.
oh.
10 years on
Um,
planning board.
But you're on the conservation.
Oh,
Commission
conservation.
before
I
that?
don't care about the conservation. Commission.
Most of us, Artie
You don't
and
wanna
I-
say that, Justin,
Artie
you
and I
don't
have
wanna
a
say
soft
that.
spot for
I have
conservation.
beef with Concom.
Don't.
Right.
Okay, this is about Paul.
This is
Well-
about
Wait,
Paul.
this is about Paul.
And town meeting and Concom, all that. But no, an acknowledgement for the 10 years of, of volunteerism of his time and effort to this board. This is,
And broader service to the town.
yes, and broader service. down in
Including
Concom,
the Conservation
Conservation
Commission.
And town
including
meeting.
Including to the.
Yes.
including
And let's
to the
not forget the
council.
CPC. I was on
No,
CPC.
that's right,
The
CPC. We're both on CPC.
To
We're
the
both on
committee,
conservation.
most
Oh my God, so
recently,
all of that.
most
Okay.
recently, the committee to select a
Yes.
new town manager.
Yes.
Acknowledging your service.
By the way, are they voting on that tonight?
We
They
voted.
already did, Katie.
They chose Katie.
Yes,
Yay,
yes.
That's
Yes.
great.
Yes, Katie.
Very nice.
Excellent.
So.
Good
an
job,
an
Paul.
Acknowledgement to your service as what is it called? Is a board acknowledge it, yes. So it's a motion to acknowledge your service to the board.
You sound like me, Justin, you sound like me. It's whatever the motion is. It's-
Whatever it is, I'm gonna invoke my inner Artie, whatever. Yes. Sounds good,
We're
whatever. it
so
sounds.
lucky to have had
But yes,
Paul.
to you, Paul.
Yeah.
And after this, we will celebrate you.
So I want to say thank you for the kind words. And I want to say that with the exception of 1688 Central Avenue, I have enjoyed every minute. of being
Even the
at planning
tennis
board.
I was not part of that.
And we're still, we haven't adjourned yet, just make
But
sure everyone
I know,
knows. We have not adjourned
No,
yet.
we have not, yes.
And
Just make sure everyone
1688 Central Avenue was a challenge, and it
Yeah,
was,
you-
and we stepped up and we met the challenge. But it wasn't enjoyable, but we met the challenge. And, one of the things that I want to acknowledge for the past 10 years is having served with such wonderful people on this board. There were some who were already friends of mine, Mr. Crocker, Mr. Eisenhut, and the rest were people who became my friends. And everybody I served with, I feel are my friends. And that in itself is an experience that I treasure. And working with, and everybody who I've served with on this board have been excellent people whose hearts are in the right place, that they want to do what's best for the town of Needham, to work cooperatively with everyone to achieve that goal. But I especially want to acknowledge Lee and Alex.
Of course.
Mhm.
It's been 10 wonderful years of working with Lee and Alex, and I've grown to appreciate their expertise, their devotion to this town, their devotion to the board. And it's been wonderful working with the two of you, and I thank you for, especially when I was chair, but even, making my job easier and enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We enjoyed working with you too.
We are really gonna miss your expertise and your experience, Paul, so.
Yeah.
And your wit, your comedic.
Your
You're
wit, is
gonna
that
miss
what
my
you-
wit.
is that what you call it? Is that what you call it?
Your comedic repertoire. Your witty repertoire.
Most people would be very thankful if I.
No, but I think, and you just did it as the last thing you did tonight also. You have this way of assessing what everyone is saying and being able to kind of bring it together to move it forward in a thoughtful way. So we wanted to thank you for all of that. And yes, we're gonna really miss you.
Don't disappear.
Yes.
I won't disappear.
Good.
There'll be
I know
times
where you
when
live
Gene
now.
and I will be
No,
sitting.
we
in
know
the-
where you live.
And I know where you live now.
Oh, yeah.
I put a sign right outside your door. And may that always be there. May you always go the right way. Sign is the wrong way, right outside of the door.
By the way, those signs have been working. I've seen people who, they've seen those signs and turned around.
Thank you.
So turned
I wish
around.
they were a little bit further. away.
I live on a one-way street.
Oh.
And he put signs
Oh.
right at my driveway that say wrong
It's the-
way,
it's the drunk
turn
driver, wrong
around
way
and
sign
out
for
Kurt's
the-
driveway.
I thought you were talking about a political sign that was there.
Oh, no, it's the wrong way
I-
signs that are like, they're
Yeah, I
they're
thought
put on
originally
like.
it was
a
a
sign.
on ramp.
It's like,
Yeah.
vote for Justin.
Yeah.
Wrong way.
So I would like to second,
It was a motion.
Justin's
To acknowledge.
motion
To
to adjourn in acknowledgement of Paul's faithful and dedicated years of service. So I second that, emotion.
And it was a motion to adjourn with the
And I
acknowledgement.
think there was, I think there were a couple of whereas in there as well.
There was a
whereas.
couple whereas.
Couple of whereases. So what we
Any
have, any
discussion?
discussion?
Yeah.
No. Motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Aye.